Welcome to the AFR Saints channel, where we provide you daily content on your favorite team, the New Orleans Saints. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to leave your comments below and smash that like button. Who dat? Last week, Sean McDermott, with the Buffalo offense scuffling, fired offensive coordinator Ken Dorsey. Of course, they promoted Joe Brady. Here's what McDermott said after he fired Ken Dorsey.
Just felt like it was time for a change. We need to be a confident offensive football team and find consistent production, and that's really what it came down to.
Okay. It was time for change, needed to be a more consistent, productive football team. And then Buffalo went out and scored 30 points this week. They did force 4 turnovers against in the game and certainly put their offense in an advantageous situation against the Jets. But nonetheless, today, the Pittsburgh Steelers fired Matt Canada. Mike Tomlin did have his media availability today, and here's what he said about the decision.
This decision was not taken lightly. I got a lot of respect for Matt personally and professionally. It was not easy, but I thought it was necessary. This is a result-oriented business, and to be short, the improvements were not rapid enough or consistent enough for us to proceed.
He's not wrong. You're talking about an offense in Pittsburgh that has been really bad this year. The Pittsburgh Steelers lost Sunday 13-10 to the Cleveland Browns, where they were outgained for the 10th time this season. Pittsburgh is 6-4, but has a negative point differential, meaning if you look at the total points they've scored, their total points their opponents have scored, they're at a minus 29. They're a winning record, and they're minus 29, and they've been outgained in every game this season. So it's stunning how bad they've been. Of course, Matt Canada was here at LSU in 2017 and at Orgeron's first season, so there's familiarity there. But I think there's a very obvious question to be asked here from the Saints' perspective, which is you're getting to that point in the season where teams are making decisions about staff. And a lot of those decisions are based on where you are as an organization. For example, Buffalo came into this season, as we all know, with very lofty expectations. Buffalo came into this season thinking they were going to win their division and be a Super Bowl contender. Well, Buffalo's 6-5 right now. They're a game and a half behind Miami. Miami 7-3, Buffalo 6-5. So you look at it right now, and you realize, again, they were 5-5 when they made the decision to fire Ken Dorsey. Are you actually going to do something to shake things up to try to make a push with this talented roster? They did. They won. We'll see if it works. Pittsburgh is a team that has a winning record at 6-4. They, too, are a game and a half. Baltimore is at 8-3. Cleveland's at 7-3. And Pittsburgh at 6-4. A game and a half behind the division leader, and has to make a decision. Are we actually going to, at 6-4, you got a winning record, you get in the playoffs, but can you do something to shake things up and make that push? So it's sort of a desperation move to say, look, if we're going to be a contender, we got to make this move. It's interesting for New Orleans because the Saints are there at 5-5. So record-wise, on par with the two teams that have already fired their OC and made that move, but the Saints are in a bad division. So it's one of those things that we always talk about where winning masks deficiencies. Well, if you're the Saints, you're 5-5, you're leading your division. So you say, look, you're on pace to make the playoffs, but are you really a contender? Are you really competitive? And the answer is quite frankly, no. So I look at the Saints in a similar vein that I say, it's true that you're not in the same position as Buffalo or Pittsburgh because you're in first place and they're not. But you have the oldest roster in the NFL. And you know that every year that goes by that you don't win, that window closes even more. In my opinion, the window's already shut, but that's another story. Just for the sake of the conversation, we'll keep moving forward because this is the approach the Saints are taking. They are in perpetual win-now mode. So is there something you can do to shake things up offensively? Keep in mind, you got to have an option on staff if you fire your play caller. Buffalo had Joe Brady. And we could talk whatever we want about the success or failure, but Joe Brady had been an OC in the NFL. He was the passing game coordinator at LSU. He was not a play caller. He worked with the receivers, and he sat, sidecar to Steve Ensminger. He gets the job in Carolina. He's a play caller for a year and a half and gets fired. But at least he'd been a play caller in the NFL. Tomlin in Pittsburgh has promoted Eddie Faulkner and Mike Sullivan. So Faulkner is going to be the OC, but Sullivan is going to be the primary play caller. Faulkner was an OC once in his career at Ball State in 2009-2010. They were 2-10 and 82nd in points per game. So it's not like you got a guy that was super prolific. And then Sullivan, who's going to be the primary play caller, has been an OC twice in the NFL, with Tampa in 12 and 13 and the Giants in 16 and 17. Here's their points per game. With Tampa, they went 7-9 and scored 24 a game. And then the next year, they went 4-12 and scored 18 a game. With the Giants, they were 11-5 and scored 19 a game. That was in 2016. The next year, they were 3-13 and scored 15 points a game. So as a play caller, Mike Sullivan's teams have scored 24, 18, 19, and 15 on average. Not great, Bob. But they made the move. I don't think sometimes you make a move just to do something different. You have to feel like you have a better option, or your current scenario is just a dead end. So I look at New Orleans with Pete Carmichael and I say, okay, your offense is stagnant and bad. We've all seen the metrics. You can look at the sort of the macro picture of the New Orleans Saints and where you are offensively. We can look at the Saints, who are 18th in the NFL with 21 points per game. So you're in the bottom half of the league, kind of in the middle, but you're in the bottom half of the league in scoring. It shouldn't be the case. Not when you invested what you did in Derek Carr, and you've got Chris Olave. Thomas is injured now, but Rashid Shaheed, Alvin Kamara, you paid Jamal Williams, you drafted Kendre Miller. Theoretically, you've got enough weapons to where you shouldn't be this bad offensively. And it's 2 years in a row now with Pete Carmichael calling plays. Like, you have a large enough sample to know he's not the guy that's going to get this offense off the ground. The problem with New Orleans is you don't have the proven play caller. You don't have the obvious choice like they had in Buffalo and in Pittsburgh. But Ronald Curry is sitting right there. And Ronald Curry did call plays in the preseason. If you remember, they allowed some assistants to call plays in the preseason to get that experience. And the point that I'll make and have made many times is everybody's got to get their first time sometime. Like, it's everyone's first time to call plays at some point. And would you love to hire someone at the NFL level who's got experience? Of course. But this is actually a really good opportunity as well for a trial for the remainder of the season with a guy like Ronald Curry. I mean, Sean McVay had to get his first opportunity somewhere. Mike McDaniel had to get his first opportunity to call plays somewhere. Kellen Moore had to get his first opportunity to call plays. It's a very young dude, got it in Dallas. Joe Brady had to get his first opportunity to call plays. First opportunity calling plays was in the NFL. So I kind of look at the Saints and I go, you're in first place, but you're not maximizing your roster. You have a large enough sample size with Pete Carmichael. No, you ain't going anywhere with him, and he's not getting the offense off the ground. Could a new voice be better? Maybe, but you won't know until you try. And you can tell this is a very similar approach that I have when I talk about quarterbacks. Like, I didn't like signing Derek Carr. I wanted them to draft a quarterback. And was there a possibility that the quarterback you drafted would bust? Absolutely. But there's also the possibility you could boom. You don't have that with Derek Carr. And you know you don't have that with Pete Carmichael calling plays. You might have it with Ronald Curry, which is why the same reason Buffalo needed to inject life into their offense and Pittsburgh needed to inject life in their offense. The Saints need to do it as well. You got 7 games to go. You're in first place. You actually want to make a run. If you do, you have to change things up. It's time to follow in the footsteps of Buffalo and Pittsburgh and give Ronald Curry a shot to call plays. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.